Hello, this is Charles Lewis and my father Chuck Lewis here, and we're part of the Lewis Approach Verbal System. We have the Healthy Relationships Virtual Academy teaching the Lewis Approach Verbal System. We train you how to do it. That helps make your life better, it helps you get what you want to be like for it, and could actually save your life. And so we're doing a little YouTube video to tell you about certain things that happen in society that may relate to you and could actually save your life or improve the quality of your life. Now today's story, this is the first part of June 2021. And we're in the greater Los Angeles area, and what happened in our community was here's the headline right off the web. It says, investigators learn about workplace dispute that prompted deadly fire station shooting. Okay, this is at a fire station. What happened is that investigators said there was a long-standing workplace dispute between the shooter, who was a firefighter at the station, and the 44-year-old victim he killed. The victim was identified as Mr. Carlin, the father of 3 daughters, okay, and more than 20 years on the fire department. And it said that the two men, the shooter and the person that got shot, shared the same job at the fire station. They both served as firefighters, but on different shifts. And the other thing about this interesting, it says that after the shift changed, the shooter went to his home and he burned it down and called the station about things he left in the refrigerator. He returned to the station, shot and killed the gentleman, and he also shot somebody else, but that person didn't die. The thing was, they said, this is what the family said about the shooter. They said, to our knowledge, from interviews with the family members of the suspect, there was nothing going on in his life that would have triggered him. Now, isn't that something that you can see, like somebody was disgruntled, he was loved by his family. He says, by all accounts, he was loved at his job and the fire department, and yet he turns around and shoots and kills somebody after all this time. And so that's probably a dicey situation. So with the Lewis approach, why do people do this? I mean, I could see somebody who was kind of caged up and all stuff, but this is somebody that could be, you're sitting next to at your job, and they could shoot you or somebody else that you know. Why do people do that?
You know, actually, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's interesting that something would happen that quickly and there's no signs of a problem. Because here's what happens. Your body is developed to fight or flight early on, 5 to 7 million years ago. So it's learned to fight or flight. The predators then were bigger, stronger, and faster. So in order to take care of them, they had to do something more deadly. So the brain is designed that way, that when they have a big threat coming at them, that they would use a bigger threat.
Do you say fight or flight, you mean adrenaline?
Adrenaline,
Okay.
yes, adrenaline. They call it fight or flight hormone.
Okay.
And so what happens is that there's a lot of dispute between workers at work. We've heard about the police department. I know where I worked, there was a lot of disputes. People didn't like this person, that person, but they had to work together. But when you get to the chemistry to a certain level, then the person acts out violently. Now, I'm a therapist. I did psychotherapy for years, and I know that therapists do a pretty good job, except when they teach firefighters and police officers and other people, because it's the National Association of Social Workers doing the training, so know what the training they're going to get. But the training that they are trying to give you, they have they call it a 50-minute hour to work through issues with a person. Where as a firefighter, they don't have a 50-minute hour. It works more instantly. So if the danger occurs between two people trying to get their needs met, trying to get what they want, and they're constantly blocked of getting what they want, violence occurs. That's what does it.
So I'm glad you said that. So the other quick question I have that I think people want to know is that we know that there's certain things out there that are available to people, and you know, like you see this in HR departments, where if you're upset with a coworker and they have like conflict resolution, these types of things, those have been available for years. And yet we still see almost shootings at least weekly and sometimes daily, and yet you have these shootings and these disputes that result in violence and leaving this gentleman, his family with 3 daughters with no father. So why doesn't that work? I mean, if you have a solution that's supposed to work, why do the shooter, they're getting worse, not better? Why doesn't these counseling and therapy, why isn't that working? I don't understand that.
Well, you know, the first place is, what they do is they have this training, like you said, at the station or the job or something. They have the training. But the people doing the training or doing the teaching are not teaching therapists, they're teaching firefighters. They're teaching police officers. They're teaching other people, but it takes more skill to get to the trouble of a person. For example, there was this lady that I worked with. She worked with a guy that was depressed, and he was depressed for a long time. And so she felt good about it, working with him, helping him out. So one day he came in and says, hey, I feel really good. Things are going great. So the therapist thought, boy, this is really good. But what happened, he then committed suicide. She figured, well, what happened? Why was he feeling good? And he said he's going to commit suicide. Because what had happened is, with the stress he had, he determined the solution to his problem was to take his own life. So that's why he was acting differently. So with therapists, it's more of a hit and miss, and part of the problem is the therapists are supposed to be agents of social control, controlling things, not helping a person get their needs met, because they try to, but they're not hitting it well enough. And so the therapist, the patient thinks, well, I'm not getting the help I need. I can fool my therapist. Did I tell you that a lot of people going to therapists, they don't even tell the therapist their problems. And the therapists assume they know what the issues are. One other thing that the therapists do as part of their treatment is to make you feel guilty. That's what they do. Well, that's not going to get your needs met, feeling guilty about something. So that's why we have this problem. So the focus should be, when you're training, when you're working with someone, when you're doing that, is getting the needs met. Whatever that person needs, the adrenaline is there for them to get that need met. But if the therapist or anyone else do not teach them how to get their needs met, they can become violent. And it can happen very quickly. It can happen very quickly. So that you can see a person feeling good today and bad tomorrow. I'm sure everybody's experienced that before. Matter of fact, if you go in a room where people have been arguing, and you go in that room, and the argument's over already, you can still feel the tension there. That's the vibes that's still going on. So things can happen very quickly.
Yeah, and would you say also that when we do the Lewis approach that you developed, you created the Lewis approach, and we teach our students either in the beginner's class, the intermediate class, or the advanced class, that you always say that therapy and counseling is a medical model. And that means the basis is there's something wrong with you, and you need to be treated or fixed. And so I think people don't want to know that there's something wrong with them. Like I know some people don't want to go to the doctors, they don't want to do that. And so they won't use the Lewis approach, where with the Lewis approach, we use a needs met model, which means there's nothing wrong with you. In fact, one of the concepts we talked about is you're perfect being you. And so what we do is focus on getting your needs met. So that, I think, might be one of the explanations to me, and you used to be a therapist, on why what's being taught now doesn't work, and why when people use the Lewis approach, they never even think about these problems. We've had people that have had violent thoughts, and after the Lewis approach, they are caring and loving, and they never have any problems. And would you say that would be part of, because getting their needs met is one of the reasons for that?
Exactly, because what the medical model, like you said, what it does is they try and determine what your problem is. And they call you whatever it is. You're depressed, you're bipolar disorder, you're schizophrenic, you're whatever it is. They give you a diagnosis. Now they have, and you are the problem. So they're going to try and fix you. Many times they give you medication, but if the person doesn't take the medication, it's not going to work. So they try and fix you. That's the medical model. And pretty much everybody does that. But the Lewis approach, we don't use a medical model. Meaning we don't work to find out what your diagnosis is. We want to know what the problem is, but we don't need to give you a diagnosis and call you a name like depressed or another thing. But what we do is whatever the problem is, we use select words, specific words, that targets the hormones in your body. And these hormones, when you resolve the problem, they stabilize.
That's a really good point.
And so the point is that what you do is you get your needs met, because that's why you have adrenaline in the first place. That's why you have a problem in the first place, because there's something you need to get done. Therapists don't do that.
So I'm glad you said that. Now, the last thing I want to cover, and this is really kind of a brass tacks. Let's talk about, let's say that you're in an office and you feel like shooting somebody. Or let's say that you have a running dispute with somebody and you say, man, I hope this person doesn't bring in a gun tomorrow. And so, because that could happen to anybody. I'm sure that the two people involved with that have thought about that before, and now neither of them are here. One got shot and killed, the other one killed himself, so they're both gone. So to prevent that, let's say that you feel like killing somebody. You shouldn't. You can one side go through different things. What words should you say to the person to use up the adrenaline? Because you talked about earlier about adrenaline. If you don't have the adrenaline, no fight, no flight. So you have no adrenaline, you can't kill anybody. So if you felt like being a shooter, how do you get out of that shooter mindset? What words could you say to this person who's pissing you off so that you don't shoot them, you use your words instead? What specific things could the person have said?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times what happens when you have a confrontation, you might say, well, you did this wrong, and that person's going to come back and say, well, I didn't do it wrong. So you're in a verbal confrontation, and it escalates. It just continues to escalate. That's the problem. So if you feel like you want to kill somebody, what you do is you give them the assignment to solve your problem.
So what would that sound like?
It would sound like, I heard what you said earlier and all that. Tell me why you said that, and then I would appreciate it, okay?
So that, tell me why, back to the class we teach, because I'm the drill sergeant in classes. Tell me why you said that. It's called an HTE. HTE means have them explain. And then, what did you say? I'd appreciate that. That's just tapping into a person's desire to please. So what did Chuck just did right away was a UPA followed by an HTE. We're teaching you specific techniques, which is not therapy, because therapy don't teach you anything, right? They just kind of, how do you feel about it, but there's no tools. With the Lewis approach, we give you tools, we equip you with these techniques you're talking about right now that can literally save your life. Isn't that right?
Yes, and see, when they tell the other person what to do, the shooter, the one who's thinking about shooting, when you tell the other person what to do for you, you're using up the adrenaline.
Ah, that's right.
And that's the key to it.
And that curbs the appetite to want to kill somebody. It eliminates it.
Yes.
Ah, that makes
sense.
sense.
So that's what we want to teach people when they feel like harming someone, is to assign the solution to the problem to the other person. Because you're using up your adrenaline, but it doesn't affect the other person's negative adrenaline. It hits more of the endorphins, which is a hormone that makes you feel good. Mm. So when you tell a person, I heard what you said, tell me why you said that. They, the first place, when you hear what they had to say, they feel better. And then when you say, tell me why you said that, then they feel even better than that, but you use up your adrenaline. So if you feel like killing somebody, assign the solution, because the solution to your problem is not killing someone. The solution to the problem is you can't resolve a conflict with the other person.
So instead of thinking about picking up a gun and shooting him, say, I heard what you said, tell me why you said that, I'd appreciate that.
Yes.
They're all alternatives. One is you shoot somebody using this harmful anger that harms somebody else and yourself. In this case, they killed themselves. Replace that with, I heard what you said, tell me why you said that, I'd appreciate that. So what's the difference? In one sense, shooting somebody uses adrenaline that results in destruction and death. The other one, you use words that uses adrenaline that doesn't involve anybody at all. It uses up the adrenaline. It's equivalent to shooting somebody, but nobody gets shot, nobody gets killed, and your adrenaline level drops, which means you feel better. Therefore, that's why the book we wrote, got it right here always, Getting What You Want and Being Liked for It, How to Resolve Conflicts, Problems, Situations with Anyone About Anything, is the Bible in our class we teach with the Lewis approach. So you want to wrap this up? Like, just what is one thing people should consider if they have an ongoing conflict with people at work?
Okay, what the person should do if they have an ongoing conflict with a person at work, when they try and deal with it the regular way, they're going to end up escalating the problem and getting worse.
Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I just
want
want
to get a different result. You're not going to get a different result. Your shootings will continue.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing. When your hormones get to a certain level, that's when people do the shootings. Mm-hmm. But then they're not even aware of all of the things that we're doing, because it's operating in the old brain. That's something we don't want to talk about. And the old brain is unconscious. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's in the unconscious. Mm-hmm. So that's what happens, because your brain is designed, the old brain is designed to keep you alive, either to fight or flight. Now let me tell you about the fight or flight. Fight means that you argue back, or you tell them what to do for you, or whatever. The flight part, and if you follow these mass shootings and these shootings, you'll find this. They would shoot somebody, and then shoot themselves. Now, why would they shoot themselves? It's the fight or flight. The fight is the shooting the other person. The flight is killing themselves. And that's why it happens that way. So when you look back at all these things that's going on, you'll see a fight and flight.
Interesting.
Shooting people and killing themselves.
Wow. Well, good. Well, it's a bad topic in terms of, we don't want to talk about, people getting shot and people having orphans at home and those bad things. But it happens. And we want to be real about when we do these videos that we're talking about things that actually happen in real life. I know we did a video about why Bill and Melinda Gates had divorced, and you can go watch that. And so this week we're talking about the shootings, and we're going to have more real life situations that could happen to you, your loved one, your spouse, your children, your relatives, so that you can be better equipped to be able to avoid that, and like we said, have people have healthy relationships and get what they want to be like for it. So if you like what you saw here in this video and others, please like and subscribe, what we're doing right now. If you want to learn more, you can actually talk to this gentleman right here, Chuck Lewis. He can be reached at 213-280-0718. He also does text there. And if you are very interested in maybe participating, you can learn more about the Lewis approach and maybe take one of our beginners classes so you can actually be equipped with that as well.
Yeah.
Take care. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.